Hello and welcome to today's Bible study. We are in the book of Nehemiah and we're on chapter 13 today. So we finished off yesterday with chapter 12 with the list of all the priests and everyone who is spreading the word to the younger generations. We have choirs on the either side of the city and everyone is celebrating and worshipping God. Okay, and so today we're on chapter 13, so let's get right into it. On that day they read in the book of Moses in the audience of the people, and therein was found written that the Ammonites and the Moabites should not come into the congregation of God forever, because they met not the children of Israel with bread and with water, but hired Balaam against them, that he should curse them. Howbeit our God turned the curse into a blessing. And now it came to pass, when they had heard the law, that they separated from Israel all the mixed multitude. And before this Eliashib the priest, having the oversight of the chamber of the house of our God, was allied unto Tobiah, and he had prepared for him a great chamber, where aforetime they laid the meat offerings, the frankincense, and the vessels, and the tithes of the corn, the new wine, and the oil, which was commanded to be given to the Levites, and the singers, and the porters, and the offering of the priests. So I love this. It says when his people stop compromising, God can turn a curse into a blessing. Now that's highlight worthy material right there. Remember, God can do all things. He can even turn curses into blessings. And so in this case, the compromise was letting family relations control spiritual decisions. Because Eliashib was, according to my notes, he was a relative of Tobiah, who was the arch enemy of God. Nehemiah wouldn't even let Tobias help build the wall, but Eliashib had let him take up an apartment in the temple. I mean, bro, no. So that is a serious conflict there. So why are you letting him stay in the holy city anyways? In the temple, no less. It says here, as a priest, Eliashib should have been setting the spiritual temperature for the rest of the people. Yes, exactly. So his actions are a reminder that regardless of your love for your family, they are never to have such an influence on you that you should make spiritually foolish decisions. Indeed. The priests were disrespecting God and using the house for unholy purposes. Oh dear, okay. But in all this time was not I at Jerusalem, for in the 32nd year of Artaxerxes king of Babylon came I unto the king, and after certain days obtained I leave of the king. And I came to Jerusalem, and understood of the evil that Eliashib did for Tobiah in preparing him a chamber in the courts of the house of God. There you go. And it grieved me sore, therefore I cast forth all the household stuff of Tobiah out of the chamber. Good. Then I commanded, and they cleansed the chambers, and thither brought I again the vessels of the house of God, with the meat offering and the frankincense. So Nehemiah, again, ever doing the right thing. He's so good, Nehemiah. He always tries to follow God's commandments, and he knew that was wrong to have Tobiah living in the temple, and so he threw all his stuff out. And I perceived that the portions of the Levites had not been given them, for the Levites and the singers that did the work were fled every one to his field. Then contended I with the rulers, and said, why is the house of God forsaken? And I gathered them together and set them in their place. Then brought all Judah with the tithe of corn and the new wine and the oil unto the treasuries. So we see here the problem that people are having, where they were putting themselves first and things of God were coming second. So his treasury should have been full of the first fruits and everything, but it was empty, which is why they put Tobias to live in there. I mean, that's not right. It was meant to be full of the tithes. And of course, as the ministry goes down, so does everyone's spirituality. Oh dear. And I made treasurers over the treasuries, Shelemiah the priest and Zadok the scribe, and of the Levites Pedaiah, and next to them was Hanan the son of Zaccur, the son of Mattaniah, for they were counted faithful, and their office was to distribute unto their brethren. So Nehemiah again took charge. I love how he's just working so hard to keep everyone on the right track, and he picked people who he deemed were trustworthy. Remember me, O my God, concerning this, and wipe not out my good deeds that I have done for the house of my God and for the offices thereof. That's lovely. So he's asking God to remember him, to remember the good works he has done for God, into helping God prepare his agenda. I like that. I'm going to highlight that too. In those days saw I in Judah some treading wine press on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves, and lading asses, and also wine, grapes, and figs, and all manner of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals. There dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which bought fish, and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah, and said unto them, What evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers thus, and did not our God bring all this evil upon us and upon this city? Yet ye bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath. And it came to pass, when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut, and charged that they should not be opened until after the Sabbath. And some of my servants set I at the gates, that there should be no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. So the merchants and sellers of all kind were lodged, all kind of ware, lodged without Jerusalem once or twice. Then I testified against them, and said unto them, Why lodge ye about the wall? What if ye do so again? I will lay hands on you. From that time forth came they no more on the Sabbath. And I commanded the Levites that they should cleanse themselves, and that they should come and keep the gates, to sanctify the Sabbath day. Remember me, O my God, concerning this also, and spare me according to the greatness of thy mercy. So here we're seeing the people's compromise with their attachment to materialism. They were to keep the Sabbath holy, that was clear, and it was acknowledged here that God has brought evil upon people for doing this kind of thing in the past, pertaining the Sabbath and being materialistic. In those days also saw I Jews that had married wives of Ashdod, of Ammon, and of Moab, and their children spake half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Jews' language, but according to the language of each people. So now we're seeing moral compromise. So previously on the Sabbath we're seeing material compromise, now we're seeing moral compromise. They were told very clearly not to intermarry. You know, and all this is frustrating, isn't it? Because we just saw in previous chapters they had made a covenant, they had sworn not to intermarry and to follow God, and here we are breaking the rules already. It just goes to show how much we need Jesus, doesn't it? Like we cannot keep the law, clearly. They just keep making the same mistakes over and over and over. And unfortunately, that intermarrying did exactly what God didn't want to happen. And the children had learned the language of Ashdod instead of God's law. So it's the children that suffered because they weren't learning God's law. And I contended with them and cursed them, and smote certain of them, and plucked off their hair, yikes, and made them swear by God, saying, Ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? Yet among many nations was there no king like him, who was beloved of his God, and God made him king over all Israel. Nevertheless, even him did outlandish women cause to sin. Shall we then hearken unto you to do all this great evil, to transgress against our God in marrying strange wives? And one of the sons of Joiada, the son of Eliashib, the high priest, was son-in-law to Sanballat the Horonite. Therefore I chased him from me. So Nehemiah kicked off, to say it kindly. He was not happy. Like, I love him. He's so good at trying to keep everyone on the right path, but it's like herding cats, isn't it? They're just so wild, and you can tell he's really trying hard, bless his heart. But he kicked off at them and pulled their hair out, and I can just imagine how angry he was. And he reminded them that when Solomon did this and married strange wives who did not believe in Yah, his personal life went down the toilet, and that created the split of Israel. Like, it's not just about you, it's the knock-on effect that it has, right? It's not just about this one couple who happened to fall in love and marry. It's what is the knock-on effect that that's going to have on the children and then ultimately the nation, as we've seen in the past. Remember them, O my God, because they have defiled the priesthood and the covenant of the priesthood and of the Levites. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. It was the actual priest that was doing this. This is what I'm saying. Like, if it's coming from the top and trickling its way down, that's even worse, isn't it? Because then people are looking at priests going, oh, they're doing that, that's all right then. Because they're meant to be models and examples. Thus cleansed I them from all strangers, and appointed the wards of the priests and the Levites, everyone in his business, and for the wood offering at times appointed, and for the first fruits. Remember me, O my God, for good. Of course, Nehemiah didn't slip up once in this. He was the one, everyone on track, if my memory serves me correctly. Like I said, it's been a few weeks since I came to the beginning of it, but I'm pretty sure he stayed on the right track and tried to keep everyone else on the right track. And he's so sweet, saying, remember me, O God, for good. Of course. It's like he was taking on the burden of everyone's sin almost, and he wanted to apologise for them. Well, ultimately, we all want to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant, don't we? And I'm sure Nehemiah is going to hear that. That's very sweet. Okay. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. That was another great book. I really enjoyed that. Nehemiah has restored my faith in the time period a little bit, because up to this point everyone had good intentions. Not everyone, but most had good intentions, yet they were just unable to stay on the right track. But Nehemiah really focused on trying to do the right thing for a long period of time, and God is going to be pleased with him, I'm sure. So that is the end of Nehemiah. Happy days. And if you want to know where we are heading next, I will tell you. It's not Esther, although I do want to study Esther. I do have a reading plan that I am currently on, which is going over just the main stories in the Bible. So the next book we are studying is Habakkuk. Yay! So Habakkuk, it's like we're going through the main prophets here. Habakkuk is only 3 chapters though, so it's only a short one. Therefore, I'm only going to put out 3 videos next week. I don't know if I'm going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I haven't decided how I'm going to do it yet. But yes, I'll only do 3 videos for Habakkuk next week. And as for Sunday's video, I am going to do something different on Sunday, but it's not going to be your usual talking video. I'm doing, let's just say it's something to help you with Bible study and ambience. And I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it kind of vague, but it's going to be very different to something I've done before. I just wanted to experiment doing something else for a bit. So yeah, I just fancied a little creative project. So that's what I'm going to be working on, posting on Sunday. So hopefully that will be helpful. I do hope you enjoyed our book of Nehemiah. Please do leave any takeaways that you've got in the comments below. And I look forward to getting into our new book next week. And as always, remember Jesus loves you very much. Have a blessed day, and God willing, I will speak to you very soon. Bye! So while there is something that's next on the list, I have actually already studied it. No, I haven't. Let me try and find it.